So we'll just wait a couple minutes and then we'll get started. Thank you for everyone for coming. We'll go ahead and get started here. I want to thank you all, first of all, for being a part of this fundraising session. We're excited about it. We thought it was important with all the different changes that have been made during last legislation. And we know you're doing a lot of fundraising, trying to get all of these students into the program. So first of all, I just want to again say thank you. If you have a question anytime during this, feel free to just put it in chat and we'll follow those and try to answer those questions. I just want to say, first of all, I just want to introduce a couple of people. Julie Sutherland is on here with us, and most of you know Julie. She's our program director. She takes care of a lot of, well, all of the application processing and disbursements, and she does a lot with the portal as well. Also, another one is Ted Feeney. He is our school service director. I'm sure a lot of you have heard from him. He does a lot with the legislation side of everything, and he works closely with all of our schools as well. Third person I just want to introduce, she's going to speak for us today, is Abby Ernst. She, excuse me, she is the Senior Director of Philanthropy at Cathedral High School. She has been in fundraising for over 17 years, so she knows what she's doing. She had previous roles at Ball State University, Hanover College, and DePaul University. She serves on several boards, including Charitable Gift Planners of Indiana, the CASE Indiana, and she is a member of CASE 5 District Cabinet. Abby and her husband live here in Indiana, and they have 2 dogs. So I want to welcome you, Abby, and I want to say thank you so much for being willing to talk to us about fundraising and giving us all your expertise.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me today. I'm excited about this. So the slides are going to be up to my left a little bit. So I apologize that I'm going to be making sure that my speaking is with the slides. So I'm going to try to relax and have this conversation. So please interrupt if you have any questions. As Mary said, she'll be monitoring the chat and we can just kind of talk from there. So as you all know, we'll get started here. In 2009, Indiana passed the Indiana Tax Credit Scholarship, and this was just a complete game changer for our state and our schools. Funding for scholarships comes from private donations to SGOs, and the donors get 50% state tax credit. So as my bio said, I actually came from the higher ed world, and we had a similar tax credit, but the maximum gift was $400 for a married couple. And so I came to Cathedral and they were talking about this SGO and getting 50% state tax credit, and there was no maximum. And it kind of was, it completely changes fundraising a little bit. So it's exciting. This year there is, the budget is for $17 million in fiscal year 22. That means that this allows us to raise $33 million for students in need and for students who can have school choice. So that's really exciting for us. We could go on to the next slide. We could go, IQE has put together the historical information. As you can see, $17.5 million is the most. I came in November of 16 to Cathedral High School, and that's fiscal year 17. And if you look at that line, those credits went out early December of 2016. So I came to Cathedral and all of my colleagues were taking bets on when the credits would run out. So it happened in early 16. Since then, we've been lucky enough to have the budget increased. And so, but that's one way to motivate the donors. And that's a message for the donors, is that those credits really have a possibility of running out. So that is part of our strategy, to let them know that there are a limited amount of credits available. 17, some of you may be saying kind of why the SGO and why do we have to use an SGO? If we could go on to the next slide. IQE is a perfect example of why we use an SGO. So I work with some wonderful people, but those people think that they can do everything. And she researched on how Cathedral can become its own SGO. And she became very grateful for the Institute of Quality Education because the laws just have specific parameters and are very complicated. So IQE is a great resource in terms of being an advocate for this program. They work with the legislature very well. And they also provide us with significant resources in terms of marketing and the ability to explain this program to our donors. The next slide shows the role of IQE. So our donors make the gifts specifically to IQE in the name of Cathedral High School. And it's a wonderful thing because IQE is timely. They make it easy to receive. I'm going to look at this question really quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. If we don't use all the funds in the scholarship budget every year, we are concerned that the legislature will start decreasing the fiscal year funding. Ted, do you want to kind of respond to that before she goes on?
Sure. After a year and a half, you think I'd be able to unmute myself in 2 seconds? Nope. So with one of the things that we will push for each and every budget session is to increase the SGO. So again, we've been very successful at this each and every budget session. 2021 was no exception, and our legislative priority was to match it up to the same as the voucher expansion increase, so that they were aligned, so that there were no gaps, and we were successful with that. Appreciate all the work from schools and families who were able to weigh in and advocate for that. So we will continue to ask, in 2023 for the same, for there to be an increase as well. So we won't, stop pushing for an increase in eligibility and, funding for the program. So hopefully that's an answer.
Thanks, Ted.
So the next slide is an example of some resources that IQE provides to explain the SGO and everything. We could go on to the next slide. Yep, perfect. So there's a video on IQE's website that we share with donors, we share with our teachers, we share with everyone that explains it perfectly. And it explains the process as a $10,000 gift. The $5,000 is received in Indiana state tax credit. They also receive a federal deduction on the remaining $5,000. And the video goes through that. It's a different way to learn rather than a brochure. The brochure on the right here is also on IQE's website, and they also allow us to co-brand. So all of the information has IQE's logo and everything, but we also add Cathedral's logo and kind of make it our own. But the resources are definitely there to explain everything from IQE. We at CHS have the best results when we talk about the tax credit. That was right. The next slide, please. There's a chart that we use on our form that shows the different amount of gift and the total tax savings for our donor. So a $10,000 gift, state tax credit $5,000, they deduct $5,000 from their federal taxes as a charitable deduction, and they receive $6,500 in their total tax savings. And the more you can specifically tell this to a donor, the more success you will have in this. And again, I'm amazed there's no maximum amount to be donated. We've had individuals sell businesses and have current transactions, and they've made 6-figure gifts to the SGO. And those credits can be forwarded for 9 years. And I believe they can be split up during those 9 years. Is that right? Yes.
That's true, yes.
Okay. So I'm not going to get too technical here on the next slide. It is the state tax liability is line 8 on the tax form. So you always want to you always want to consult with a tax professional and encourage your donors to do so. Line 8 shows your tax liability. And please remember that this is eligible for businesses as well. So it's not just individuals. Businesses can also make SGO gifts and receive that tax credit. And again, we don't claim to be tax experts. Have them consult with their tax professional. So after someone makes a gift, what happens? In the next slide, there are letters, example of letters that the IQE sends to the donor. The donor receives the tax credit certification number, and that's called TCCN. And IQE is timely, and they send this to the donor right away. We at Cathedral have a policy where we like to thank the individuals within 48 hours of making a gift. IQE is timely in letting us know when a gift is made. And so we usually call or email or send a letter acknowledging that we received notification of this gift and we're appreciative of it. So these are two examples. IQE sends the one on the left and we send the one on the right. And another example of IQE being a great partner is inevitably in March. The donor will call, do taxes, and say, we never got our TCCN number. And we call IQE, and IQE makes it very possible for us to provide that to them. So IQE is a great SGO partner in terms of providing us with that information. In terms of specific fundraising options and opportunities, there are several. The best way to describe this to a donor is face-to-face meetings. And I know that takes a lot of time, but it is just a game changer with that. So it's the best way to describe what the SGO is and how it works. We actually at Cathedral we have a Shamrock Scholar program where there is a donor who matches up with a student, and the donor doesn't give to a specific student. No SGO dollars go to a specific student. It is a way for the donor to personally see what their dollars go to as far as direct impact on students and the student experience at Cathedral. So we have donors meet with students yearly, sometimes every other month, and kind of show how it makes a difference and show those dollars at work. So general communications, the more you can talk about the SGO, the more you can get other people talking about the SGO, and the more times you can print the SGO explanation, the better. So on the right-hand side is actually from an elementary school from one of my colleagues' kids. And it's a great example of a newsletter information about SGO. So we have a parent newsletter, we have an alumni newsletter, and both of those SGO information is included. So that's a great way to get it out there. You can also include the video if you would like. Every fall, we have a Cathedral Fund dinner. And so we have new parents who come, we have alumni who come, and we have table captains. And that's a great showcase for us to show the SGO and SGO at work. We show the video to a mass amount of people. And then we're able to also feature some students who benefit from tuition assistance at Cathedral, and they're able to show, see the direct impact of SGO dollars. I acknowledge that most of you are not full-time fundraisers, and so face-to-face visits might not be an option, but I do think IQE, I was on the website yesterday and today, and they have great resources in terms of language that you can use for newsletters and solicitation letters. They even have a timeline that I saw in terms of when you can present it at Meet the Teacher nights. You can, you know, year end, November and December is always a good time to make sure to mention it as tax time comes to the end, and just really helpful resources on IQE's website. The next slide shows the assets that can be donated. And in all of my charitable gift planner meetings, they always say it's not necessarily cash, but it's the assets of the donors that they can give that is the best way to receive the largest gift. And so the great thing about IQE is that they receive stocks and bonds, and the IRA charitable rollover is huge, and donor advised funds. So we really like to meet where the donor is in their life, and this is such a great option to receive these gifts. I can't say that I've ever seen a gift of grain, but Mary might have.
I have.
Have you?
I have. I'll tell you this little story. First time we did have a question, and I'll tell you that. Somebody asked, how many attendees are at your dinner?
Yep. So we usually have about 300 to 500. The best dinner has been 500, and the lowest has been about 350.
Perfect. Thanks. So the gift of grain, I had no idea what was going on, and I had someone call and ask me if we accepted it. And I said it was a school, and I said no, we don't. I don't know anything about that. So a couple weeks later, he called me again. He said, Mary, we really need for you to accept gifts of grain. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if you tell me how this works, we'll consider it. And so I went to our president, and she had no idea either. And I said, well, I'll just see what I can find out. So I went back so he came back with me, and it was simple. I mean, I didn't know people were going to bring bags of grain into our office. We had no idea what they were talking about, but it ended up being very simple on our end. I mean, the donor, they sold their grain through an elevator, and we just had to sign off on it, and we received the funds. So it ended up being really simple. But in saying that, I don't say no anymore. When someone asks me, I'll say, let's look into it. Let's check this out, because I almost lost that. And we've had a couple of gifts of grain since then, not very many. It's mostly, it's just, corn in Indiana, basically what it is. But I don't say no. I say, let's look at it and see what we can do. So yeah, we have seen that.
That's a good lesson too, is don't say no right away.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions about assets that can be given or anything? I went through it really quick. Because the next slide is just questions. So
I don't see any yet. Any questions about anything? Just go ahead and share with us.
So I guess I'm confused how the donor advised fund would work, because I thought that was already taxed, or the tax advantage was already taken.
It is on the federal side, but we can accept for the state tax credit. We can still accept it. There are a couple of stipulations. One, that it has to be from the person who actually set up the donor advised fund, and then it has to come directly to IQE. So there are a couple of things, but yes, it is tax credit eligible. I
did not know that. Matter of fact, I thought quite the opposite. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we always tell everyone to be sure to to consult your tax consultant, because there could be some federal implications, but we get a lot of gifting from DAFs.
Okay.
We do tell them to go ahead and check just to be sure. Yep. Did you want to say anything about that, Abby?
Nope, the same thing. We assumed, I think, for a couple years that we couldn't, and then it was a big deal when we could. So I know our colleague did a deep dive on it. So can schools give tax scholarship funds to students who also receive an Indiana voucher? I believe so, yes.
Yes, you can supplement. It just cannot exceed their tuition and fees, but yes, you can supplement. Right now, we've seen quite a bit of that when we had 50, 70, and 90% vouchers. But now, since it's 90% voucher across the board, you still can do that extra 10% if you like.
Good questions.
Yes, those are good. Anyone else?
I have a question. Have you accepted any cryptocurrency at all?
I have not. No, I have not been asked at all about that. Has anyone, in your prospective donor, said anything?
I have not, but it's a big thing in my gift planning discussions.
Okay. Yeah, I have not heard anything at all about donors yet giving that. Has anyone else been asked about that? Nope. All right. Anyone else? I just want to say a couple of things. So when she was talking about our website, that is inside the portal. There's an SGO manual that's inside the portal that has a lot of information in it. I mean, we have a lot of the Department of Education forms in there that you may need. We have a lot of donor information, and there is a promoting tax credit scholarship section. And like she said, we do have it, for by calendar year, if you'd like to do that, how to give. For example, October, we said if your school hosts a grandparents' day, this is an opportunity, time to promote the tax credit scholarship. Be sure to have flyers and postcards available. November, remind your donors to include in their year-end giving donations. January, we say thank you, send a thank you to your donors for giving that year. And so every month we have different ideals about how to give, or not how to give, but how to ask for donations. Also, I just want you to know IQE is always available to help you with your events. Whatever we can do to help, we will. I just went to a breakfast event a couple weeks ago at a school where they had invited some donors. Very simple. They had donuts, coffee, orange juice, and we just talked about the SGO and how that they could give and, the benefits of giving. So it can be as simple as that, or having a big event with 300 or 500 people. So there's a lot of ways that you can ask people to give to your fund for your SGO. Another thing we talked about, we've already discussed the items that can give. Don't ever say no. We need to check into it before we say no. The brochure is always available. We can help you with customizing that, or if it's a Word document, you can customize it yourself as well. So we want to help you all however we can. And we want to make sure that you're successful. We want students to get onto this program. That's the most important part. And so, yeah, so anyone else have anything? There is something on here. It just says, great information. Appreciate the Zoom meeting and for Abby's willingness to share some insights. Oop, I just lost it. Hold on a minute. Looks like there may be a question. How Cathedral does their various campaigns. Some great take-home information. And then they just said, thank you. This is my first year doing SGO. Is it necessary to fill out an SGO paper application, or is everything online? Everything is online. You submit those applications through the SGO portal. You don't have to fill out an application. We do have some schools that want to keep those in their file there at the school, so they may go ahead and do that, but it's not necessary. It's absolutely up to you. I hope that answers your question. Anyone else have anything? Abby, we do appreciate so much that you're willing to give your insights and your expertise about fundraising. I think you gave some really great ideas and we appreciate it a lot. And I appreciate all of you taking your time out to listen and to be a part of this conversation. And, you know, just so you know, we're planning a couple of other sessions, pre-legislative one, we'll do an advocacy one. Right now, we're working on our plan to do a National School Choice Week in end of January, I believe it is. We're working towards that and wanting to get some stories and videos out. So we're working diligently and trying to make sure that this program stays in place. And I appreciate everything all of you schools do, because I know it's not an easy task. We appreciate all of you. So if no one else has anything else they want to say, I just want to say thank you and we will end our session. Oh, one more thing, here we go. Where can I get the SGO income bracket? That is on our website. It's in our portal, and it's also, if you just go to our website, i4qed.org/SGO, you'll go to info for schools and you can find that. If you send me an email, we can send it to you as well. Right? Anyone else? Ted, Julie, you guys want to say anything? Everyone's quiet. All right, well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.